Hmm. So what I'm coming on here to chat with you all about is something that I see so often, and you have probably seen it before too, heard it before, been told it before. And that's to feel the fear and do it anyway. So this is like a whole construct of personal development to feel the fear, just do it anyway, to just push through this fear. And I was listening to a book on audio today, and that was said again. And then it came up again in my field. And whether you watched the What is Fear and How to Stop It from Controlling Our Life, Master Heart Call, or not, something that is so important to understand is that when we operate from a construct of feeling the fear and doing it anyway, what ends up happening is we are actually denying the trauma within us, the memories that are stored in our brain, in our neurology, in our limbic system, that are keeping us in this space where, as certain things come up in our lives, we feel fear. So I have worked with and experienced and connected with people who have reached all different degrees of success in their lives, and who built that degree of success through this operation of, whenever something comes up, this fear, this hesitation, I just do it anyway. And I as well operated underneath that construct for a very long time. And what I've observed and what I've witnessed throughout my own healing journey, and all of the other people that I was supporting that I've recognized this in, is that no matter what degree of success you step into through operating from that feel the fear and do it anyway construct, that fear that was initially felt doesn't go away. Because it's coming up based on a memory that is stored, a belief that is had, a pattern that our RAS, our reticulating activating system, is holding on to, we have to go into our neurology, we have to go into these memories and into these patterns and actually change them for that fear to go away, to actually be healed and transformed, and so that it's no longer coming up. So what ends up happening is, when you're operating from this, okay, I'm going to feel the fear and do it anyway, moving forward, we just keep accumulating more of that fear, and it ends up manifesting in our body as stress and anxiety, or worry and doubt. So if that would it feel the fear and do it anyway paradigm actually worked, we'd be experiencing a world now where fear wasn't the predominantly governing modus of operandi, right? Where the vast majority is operating through these programs of fear. If that paradigm of feel the fear and do it anyway actually operated and functioned properly, then as we were moving forward, that fear would be gone. And we would start to see a world around us where fear was no longer the way in which we were experiencing our reality. So we must go in and actually, when that fear emerges, to acknowledge what this fear is, to acknowledge the memories, the beliefs, the patterns that are operating throughout our neurology, throughout our brain, throughout our limbic system, that are then triggering to our HPA axis to keep our body in this fight or flight response. We must acknowledge this and then go in and actually activate these parts of our brain to shift those patterns, so that they don't continue to come back over and over and over again, to effectively heal the fear and transform the memory that has created the pattern, to have that fear surface when certain things come up in our lives, when certain things are triggered, in our lives. And from that standpoint, I can give an example of, I lived for a few months doing teaching meditation and things like that with this man who was multimillionaire. So much fear around money. And I'd have these conversations about how did you accumulate all this wealth? What were you doing? How are you showing up in business? And his whole MO was, anytime that I'd have this barrier, I'd have this fear around what I was doing and what I needed to do in order to grow in my success in my business, I would just do it anyways. I'd feel the fear and do it anyways, right? Because this is what I've been taught to do. Now, this man was in his, I'd say late 50s, almost 60s, and there was so much fear around money, fear around life, which just is a testimony that when we operate from this MO of feel the fear and do it anyway, no matter how much success we experience, that fear is still the underlying driving system moving us forward, which is really important to understand if we want to truly unravel this fear and to heal the trauma that initially created that fear to begin with. And to proactively move towards mastery of our nervous system. Bringing our nervous system back into a space of harmony and balance and perfect functioning, and moving us out of this perpetual state of fight or flight, right? And that perpetual state of fight or flight actually shows up in the mainstream and in the spiritual world, and how much we push and force and need to make things happen and do. That whole paradigm of operating in business and in life is actually an operation that's driven by the fight or flight response, which is really humbling to take a little counter registration in our world. Okay, let me see of all the areas that I feel like I have to push and force and make and do and be better than all the others, because that is where I'm operating from fight or flight. And it's actually an eye-opening experience to realize, whoa, okay, maybe I am experiencing some internalized fears that are, constricting my nervous system from properly functioning. And if we want to experience and to actualize a world of peace, which I like to resonate with the truth that all of us, deep within the core of our being, truly wish to see a world of peace. That if we wish to actualize that, we must all internally come to know peace. And peace is known in the balancing of our nervous system. Peace is known in the shift of the pendulum from it being far swung over into fear, into clearing and cleaning all of those memories, and to rewiring our neurology, to bringing balance back into our limbic system, into our hypothalamus pituitary adrenal complex. It keeps us swinging into this fear, this cortisol, this adrenaline, this force, this stress, this anxiety, this worry, this doubt, this lack. Fear is lack consciousness, period. It is separation. It takes us out and away from our divinity, our purity, our connection to the source that is within us, the center of our being. So how this feel the fear and do it anyway is, I call it a trap, because it has us believe that we are overcoming the fear by doing the thing that we're afraid of. Yet then if we actually zoom out and we see years of the life go by, we can actually see how that fear wasn't actually overcome in that moment. That fear becomes the driver. It becomes a propulsion forward. And it continues to twinkle that fear into every single part of the life. In the anxiety, in the stress, in the worry that any moment, as we say, the other shoe will drop. or the cookie will crumble. And all of that takes us away from peace. And if we can't actualize peace within ourselves, we will not be able to manifest peace in our external environment, right? Peace first comes from within, and then that peace reflects itself without. So I know this is like counterintuitive to a lot of what the personal development industry teaches. And I feel that that is because, a lot of people who are teaching and sharing in the personal development industry are not neurologists. They're not biologists. They're not scientists. They're not studying what's happening inside of our brain that creates these experiences to begin with. They're not studying what's happening, for the vast majority of the part, what's going on inside of our nervous system, inside of our vagus system, inside of all these systems in our body that are creating these experiences to begin with. Right? And I have been fortunate enough in this life to have trauma, brain trauma, multiple of them, from accidents and things of this nature throughout my life, that my life has kind of shaped and molded itself where the choice was learn about your neurology and how to heal your body or die. And I chose to learn about neurology, learn about the nervous system, learn about all these little beautiful, amazing, incredible systems that are governed by this quantum computer inside of our head. That is not the mind, it's just the brain, right? To really understand what is the foundation that creates this macrocosm experience of fear. And how do we then reverse engineer, go back to the source of what created that and effectively create change? And it's not through pushing through fear like it wasn't there, because it just lodges it deeper inside of us. And it actually continues to keep our body in a state of trauma. Because whatever created that initial fear response was a belief that was imprinted through a memory of an experience that was likely traumatic. And it's very important that we don't judge trauma, meaning we don't say, okay, when I stubbed my toe and fell on my face, that's not as bad as if I was molested or raped or kidnapped, right? Don't judge the traumatic scale, because the way that our brain and these systems internally operate is there is no, judgment of, oh, this is worse trauma than this, because our brain doesn't operate in that good, bad, right, wrong kind of way. It just is taking in the experiences and the emotions and the energy that are moving through us during those times. So it could be a very, to our ego self, simple trauma that actually changes our chemistry in our brain, so that now every time something comes up in our lives, we instantly go into this fight or flight. We instantly start releasing cortisol and adrenaline. We instantly go into anxiety or fear or worrying about how things are going to play out in our lives. So when we feel the fear and do it anyway, we are denying the trauma that has not yet been healed. We are effectively saying to this child within us that we're not going to listen to it. We're not going to value it. We're not going to appreciate it. And that inner child will continue to squirm and create havoc and create instability until we come in and recognize I cannot keep operating this way if I am to know peace in this life. Right? We must acknowledge that fear when it comes and go in to heal and integrate it, instead of just blasting through it like it's not there. that being said, you know, if this is resonating with you, and if you know, are operating in this way where you continually have these patterns show up in your life of worry, of stress, of anxiety, of lack around your money and your resources or your work or your relationships or your health, it all boils down to these core traumas that imprinted these fear-driven beliefs. And, you know, through Fearlessly Expressed, we're going to be working to unravel and get to the core of them and actually bring balance back to our limbic system of our brain, bring harmony and a high level of functioning back to our nervous system, to not get us to this pace where we are like just pushing through the fear, where we're actually healing and integrating and releasing what was creating that fear response to begin with. Like, real peace is what our goal is through Fearlessly Expressed. And if that resonates with you, I invite you to check out the website that is here on the screen, or to just simply send me a message and say I'm interested and I'd love to connect with you. We are moving into a time where you have about a month to sign up. November 1st is the last day to sign up for Fearlessly Expressed, because you will be receiving an incredible gift box with this that's coming with some amazing technologies to support us in reintegrating, accessing those parts of our brain that can be challenging to access, and really rewiring those beliefs, and some amazing herbs and other things from the earth. And I'm being really mindful of how I speak about this gift box, because it's like a part of the medicine that is a surprise, yet also helping me to understand really how this will work. And for now, that's all I'll share. That being said, if you have questions on it, you know, we're going to be working with some amazing aspects within ourselves to release and to heal, and weaving in, you know, some of the developments that our incredible species has created to support us in effectively creating change and bringing balance back to our nervous system. And I have personally been using all of the things that are included within this throughout my process of integrating and healing and spiraling up and out of some of these deep fear patterns. So I'm happy to share with any of you on that. And if you're interested in Fearlessly Expressed, send me a message, or again, check out the site. So you'll be hearing much more from me in the next days to come. That being said, until then, may you have a beautiful day or evening wherever you're at in the world.